Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Leading by Example. I got Agape with me as we do every Friday, and I'm going to let her take the lead since it's the last week of domestic violence awareness.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I can't believe how fast time has flown. We said we were going to do this all month, and we have. I think we skipped one beat, 1 week, but it's all good. As busy moms and women in the world, we wear multiple hats and we just navigate and improvise. So, with that being said, I want to actually talk about, because it's a spin-off on what Michelle was talking about earlier today, is talking to yourself like a friend. So everybody, most people know what domestic violence is, although it comes in so many different forms. And sometimes we don't realize that we're in that type of situation until we're so deep in it that we don't know how to get out of it. And so my question for you guys today is, when you acknowledge that you are in a toxic relationship, whether you have no children or you do have children, how do you talk to yourself? What are you saying to yourself once you make that acknowledgement? How are you showing up as your biggest cheerleader? How are you showing up as your best friend? How are you talking to you?
Wow. I just as I think about that, just because when you're in that kind of situation and you've already just that struggle of just putting everything on your shoulders. And that's the part where we want to come in right here, is that we've all made types of mistakes, right? But we can't stop right there and say, okay, we'll just beat ourselves down because of the mistake made. And that's what I'm picturing as you were saying all those words, is like when I'm in that dark spot, like I just keep putting myself down. I keep saying all the wrong things I did. And so what we want to do is come on here and try to change that aspect, because if your friend had just told you what happened to you, would you have done that to you? And how would you talk to that friend? And that's what we want to try to change, is we need to start talking to ourselves like that.
That's right. Because if you're not, then you're adding to that abuse or that toxicity, because of your words, your belief system. Once you're repeating the things that are negative to you about you, it actually becomes a part of your belief system. I'm sure you've heard plenty of times, where your thoughts go, your energy flows, right? So if you don't have your mental house in order, then how are you conducting yourself? How are you showing up? And as a mom, how are you showing up? How are you teaching and leading by example for your children? That's the hardest one. I can't hear you, Michelle.
Nope, sorry, I was being a mother, right? I have they're home from school today and angry with each other because they're not communicating very well, right? So how do we let them filter? I said 5 more minutes. I'm letting her shift out for 5 minutes and I will go handle it. But you know what? It is all about that. It is, how do we do those things in between, right? Because I want to give my full attention right now to this. And as my phone's vibrating, because whatever else is going on in this world, right? But really, that's what it comes down to, is how do we actually show up for ourselves, right? Because that's what this conversation is about, is that we're actually talking to ourselves like a friend, right? Because when you really think about it, and you're trying to, your friend just came with something horrible that happened to him, you're gonna you look at them and go, you're so stupid, you shouldn't have done that. Are you really gonna say that to them? But you have no problem whatsoever saying it to yourselves. I know, because I've done it.
Me
I have.
too, so many times. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And you keep saying that to yourself, and it ingrains in them, and then you're wondering, why are other people not seeing the value in you, but you're not giving any value to yourself? And so that's what this is really about, and it's not that and we're not gonna be perfect, we're still gonna do it. But it's starting to recognize that when I am doing that, how can I do it differently? Because the first step is really just that recognizing it. So if we don't start to acknowledgement for the things that we're doing, we can't change it. And so you just think about it when you're starting to talk to yourself. Now that you've recognized it, what are some of the steps you can do? Well, there's a couple. One of the best things to do is get out a piece of paper and write them down. Because what happens when we write them down is we have something to look at now. They're no longer swimming along in our head. We can literally see them in front of us. and make a decision of what to do based on that, rather than all these thoughts just keep circulating in your head. I don't know, because I've been stuck in that where they just keep swimming and then you can't sleep at night. And then you're stuck like with all those ideas that's going through your head and you're like, oh my God. Well, when you can't sleep at night, get up and write them down. I've been doing that lately too.
Leading by example. So, I'm going to say that same thing as Michelle is saying, that the moment that you recognize that you are having that inner critic, that voice of irrational conversations with yourself, you're showing up for yourself when you are showing up for yourself in a way that you would never allow anybody else to show up for you. Okay, because it's maybe demeaning, disrespectful, ugly, negative, those things that you don't want around you. And if you're showing up for yourself in that manner, I call it interception, baby. Intercept that right away and say the total opposite. Just that fast. Show up for yourself the way you would show up for somebody that you love, that you believe in, that you know is a good person, that you wouldn't want to see them hurt, harmed, destroyed by any outsider or any entity around them. Do the same thing that you would do for others, for yourself. And it is amazing to see when you do that, the love that is actually there. There's enough people in this world. And it's unfortunate that, when you're in that toxic, environment, the people that you love the most are the ones hurting you the most. So you have to stand up for yourself and be your best friend.
I also want to acknowledge the other way to actually get the thoughts out of your head is through conversation. So like having these conversations, but at the same token, I want to caution to who do you share your information with, right? Because you have some of the friends that are always just going to give you advice. You have friends that are going to judge you and try to tell you what you're doing wrong. What we want to try to do is be the friend that listens and find the friends that listen to us. Because when we're truly listening to someone, I'm not sitting here going, oh my God, I can't believe Agape just said that. That was so wrong. But I'm sitting there listening to her and really taking that in and giving her the space to speak. And that's what we want to do. And we want to start by example, leading by example, by doing that, by listening to each other, but then find the people who also start to emulate that as well, because we want to get out of this idea that we always have to give each other advice, which is what is ironic because I feel like I'm sitting here giving advice, but
me too.
But we're trying to change that perspective and how to, because it's not a specific situation, right? Because if I was sitting there listening to someone right now about their specific situation, I would want them to really talk it out so that they would end up coming with the results that they want, not my 2 cents. Because my 2 cents might not work for them or their kids or whoever. Because a lot of times they're like, oh, well, this worked for my kid, that'll work for your kid. That is so not true. And so getting in the habit of just listening. And if you're not sure what to say, let the silence be, or repeat back what they just said. Make sure you're understanding or giving them room to reiterate or explain it differently rather than giving them advice. Ask more questions, rephrase for understanding, or let that silence ride. At the end, when they feel like they're complete, then see if they want something else. But by that point, most likely, they already have their own answers. They didn't need yours because they need to go inside themselves to get those thoughts out of them. And again, the ways to get our thoughts out are talking to other people, writing them down, or I love how Agape was saying, reframing that and talking to yourself like that friend. And what listening skills would you give that friend? Give it to yourself.
Beautiful. So to wrap it up and summarize it, it is completely normal to have a negative inner critic. We all live in our head. We can move a million times, but that's where we reside. So again, it is completely normal to have those negative inner critics within, but it's important that when you acknowledge it, well, first of all, that you do acknowledge it. And then when you do, you intercept it. And then we just gave 3 and 4 different examples on how to, intercept it in a positive way and change it around quickly. And most importantly, the community, like Michelle just said, talking to other people that you can confide in, making sure that, they can just listen to you and help you talk it out so you can go inside of what is best for you and your life and your environment to make the right decision for yourself. So This was great. Thank you so much, Michelle.
Thank you, Agape. And let us know how everyone can get a hold of you again.
Oh, yes. So you can reach me at Be Your Incredible Self. And I also have a nonprofit, Confronting Domestic Violence, where we help real-time victims when they have a safe place to go, but not the means to get there. We help fill that gap.
And for me, come to connectingmamas.com, join our Facebook group, and let's have these conversations together. We'll see you next time.